The Red Scare took home the first win of the season last week, so they get the day off today. That means Captain Joe Jacobs' Purple Panthers will get a chance to avenge that loss against the Blue Steel, who enter the dojo for the first time this fall. It's October, the best month of the year. The NFL has finished a quarter of its regular season. We will discuss some of those September surprises. Hockey's back. The squads are going to give some of their early season predictions. And finally, a couple of electric wild card games and a couple of shutouts for some young studs on the road. The MLB playoffs are back, and we will talk who will appear in this year's Fall Classic. UC, let's go. Welcome back to another installment of Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I'm Damon Turbot. Now, I will get to the new guys in a minute, but I want to go to Alex Martins-Boyd in the Purple Panthers, who are at the desk. Last week, Alex, what did you guys think of your team's performance?
It was trash. We will never do anything so bad ever again. This time, it's a whole new ball game.
All right, well, apparently he's not having any of it. He's not happy, but let's go to the only team without a record. That's Sarah Weber in the Blue Steel. Now, we had 1 week preseason. You guys were on. How are you guys feeling about your progression from then to now?
You know, I think we're ready, and we're here to show us what we got, and we're excited. Yeah.
All right, excitement. That's a good takeaway. I had a few takeaways from week 4 of the NFL season. I learned Josh Scobie will probably never get a chance to kick another field goal. Matt Hasselbeck, he still plays football, and Cam Chancellor is arguably the most exciting playmaker in the NFL after another huge play, securing a controversial win in Seattle for the Hawks. Now, Seattle sits in second place in the NFC West at 2-2. Cam and company were one of the favorites to rep the NFC at Super Bowl 50 entering the season, but are they still a team that can make it to Levi's Stadium, Alex?
I'm going to have to go with no. When you look at Seattle, look, they've lost Marshawn. They've lost a bunch of offensive linemen. They're constantly getting bailed out on offense by stars, by Russell Wilson. It's just they're no longer the deep, versatile squad that they once were in the past years. They have these extensions. It's not the same. And Jimmy Graham, what's happening? I don't know.
What is happening, Sarah?
Well, to make a point off of Alex, Jimmy Graham has had at least 2 more receptions than Gronk this season, which is pretty great. And their receiving trio is actually doing really, really well. You have Doug Baldwin, who's on track for the most productive season of his career with 20 receptions, on track for 80 at this pace. This is going to be a career high for him if he continues with at least 66 comparing to last season. This puts him Jermaine Kearse also is on a career high with 16 so far, 64 at this rate. Seahawks are also the only team with 2 receivers with 100% catch rates. So they're doing pretty well, in my opinion.
So they're doing well on some parts. Now, Alex, talk a little bit more about why you think the Seattle team. We've heard a lot about the offense. Now let's talk a little bit about the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, the defense is, well, I can say it's solid, but we've seen a lot of lacking with, although Cam has come back and we can see obvious improvements because of that, there's just a lacking element. There's just that missing spark, I'd say.
That missing spark. All right, Sarah, why don't you expand a little bit upon some of the players that have done well and why you think that Seattle actually will have a chance to make Super Bowl 50?
Well, you know, they're only 4 games in. The Seahawks do have a pretty intense lineup of games ahead of them. They're facing Cincinnati, who's 4-0. They're facing the 49ers, which might actually benefit them. 49ers aren't having too great of a season. So I think you just have to give it time, and I think Jimmy Graham and the guys are going to pull through.
All right, well, starting with Jimmy Graham's a little difficult. You also just kind of buried yourself a little bit. Cincinnati looks very good this season, and any time that the Seattle Seahawks play San Francisco, it is always a tough match. The points are going to Alex Martins-Boyd and the Purple Panthers, but let's move on. And another one of those NFC Super Bowl favorites were the Dallas Cowboys, who currently only lead the NFL in serious injuries. Des Bryant, gone. Tony Romo, gone. Now Lance Dunbar, done. The now Brandon Whedon-led Cowboys are 2-2 through its first 4 games, but that is good for a 3-way tie for first place in the NFC East, which is really no surprise. This division has been a dogfight over the last few years. 10 wins can often bring you the title. The Eagles currently sit last at 1-3. Of course, that is not a death sentence for them. But Sarah, who do you think has the best chance of winning the East this season?
I'm a huge fan of the Cowboys this season. Damon, they are so far the best team in the NFC East because they will get their injured players back and they're going to be dangerous. They have one of the best offensive lines, which makes running backs better. Bryant will be back week 7, and when Romo begins, this is a team capable of making a deep run.
So Des Bryant's going to be back week 7? Is that the case? Is Dallas going to win the NFC East?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be the Giants. If you look at Dallas' schedule compared to the Giants' schedule, you're going to see that one clearly has the advantage. Giants are playing San Francisco, Dallas, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay next. Easy wins for this team. Dallas, their next team, the Patriots. It's not going to be so easy getting on a win out of them.
Okay, Sarah?
I would like to argue that New York doesn't have the defense necessary to win the division. Between Sean Lee and Anthony Hitchens, the Cowboys have the best defense.
Okay, Sean Lee is possibly, we heard a lot of good things from Bill Belichick about Sean Lee. So Alex, what do you have to say about that?
The Giants' defensive unit has had the fewest rushing yards per game this year.
Wow, spitting out fact for fact here. I'm going to have to give the points to somebody. I'm going to have to give them to Sarah Weber and the Blue Steel. I think that Dallas does have a good chance to come back. They definitely have the best weapons in the NFC East right now. The Eagles have some players, DeMarco Murray, sure, but they don't have Des Bryant. Des Bryant will be back. I don't know about week 7, but he will be back, so the points go to the Blue Steel. But now we got to go to our first commercial break. When we come back, we have the Lightning round. And speaking of Lightning, will the Lightning be mentioned as the favorite to win Lord Stanley's Cup this season? That's a lot of Lightning. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the UC. After one round, the score is knotted up at 2 apiece. We got a little clash of the captains here. Repping the Blue Steel for the Lightning round is Shepard Price, and today it is Joe Jacobs for the Purple Panthers. A little switch up here, Joe. You got a little strategy going on here?
Yeah, well, I'm with a self-proclaimed expert, and I'm not worried. So let's go, baby.
Right. Oh, okay. And Shepard, what do you got to say to that? He's talking some smack.
I'm now going to destroy Joe. Let's go.
All right, ready to destroy Joe it is. The Chicago Blackhawks won the Cup last season, but have been surrounded by press as star right wing Patrick Kane is amidst an ongoing rape investigation. Kane has not been charged with anything, but do you think that he should at least be suspended by the team or by the NHL, Shepard?
No. In the U.S. justice system, it's innocent until proven guilty, and so far we haven't seen any hard evidence that would suggest that Patrick Kane did what he's accused of, and so it'd be bad press for both the NHL and the Blackhawks if Patrick Kane turns out to be innocent and he could file charges against them.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, Shepard. First of all, let's look at what the NFL did with Ray Rice, and they didn't do anything until it was too late. They handed him a measly 2-game suspension, and then they got blasted for it. Give him a suspension early on and see where it goes from there and see where the investigation goes. But if you don't get out in front of it, they could get in trouble. And I don't want the NHL to get what the NFL did.
But you guys don't get a chance to rebut. This is the new Lightning round, folks, and unfortunately you used Ray Rice as an example, but Ray Rice also had video evidence that he did what he did. Not so sure about Patty Kane. Points are going to go to the Blue Steel. Now let's move on. 6 teams failed to make the playoffs last season after making it the season before. So, Joe, which team do you think has the best chance to make it back this year?
You got to go with the LA Kings. It's really easy. They've been in the playoffs so many times. They added Milan Lucic from the Bruins, defenseman Christian Ehrhoff, and backup goalie Jonas Enroth. They're stacked anyways, and a time off from the playoffs for them to rest. They had been in played 64 playoff games over 3 years. It's an incredible grind. They had a winter off. They should be back and ready to go.
All right, you're saying the Kings are making the return. What do you think, Shepard?
The Kings are not in the division to make the playoffs for what they are. They're not a very good team this year. Yes, they have a good first 2 lines, but after that, they don't have the depth they had once had, and their defense is sorely lacking on that third pairing. I'm going to go with the Dallas Stars, who last season were one of the best offensive teams, and they only added to that offense. They added Patrick Sharp, they added Johnny Oduya on the defense. Their defense, which was once sorely lacking, is now very good.
Dallas did bolster their team, but I got to say the Kings look a little bit better. They got the Stanley Cups to use as leverage. Dallas doesn't quite have that, so the points going to Joe and the Purple Panthers. Now let's do the opposite, Shepard. Which team that made it last season has the best chance of making it this year?
Winnipeg. Like I said, the division that they're in, which is the Central, is the best division in hockey. They didn't improve this year from last year, and they barely made the playoffs last year. There are so many better teams in the Central this year, like the Stars. Everybody has improved except for the Winnipeg Jets, and so the Winnipeg Jets are the odd man out.
All right, Jets odd man out. What do you think, Joe?
Well, with the Blackhawks and the Patrick Kane scandal, I think that's going to weigh them down all season. And they've been in the playoffs. They lost a few key cogs. And as you said earlier, if I argued the Blackhawks for going far in the Stanley Cup, you could argue why they couldn't, because that's your team. So I'm going with that since you're the expert.
He's going with that, and he's the expert, but I'm the host. I'm going to get the points. I'm giving the points to Shepard here. I can't see the defending Stanley Cup champions not making it to the playoffs this year. This team is a dynasty. Let's move forward, though. There were a ton of big moves made this offseason, but which was the best offseason move, Joe?
Oh, I lost my notes, but that's all right. You got to go with Phil Kessel, because him playing on Sidney Crosby's line, it was just announced Sidney Crosby, the best passer. Patrick Kane, debatably one of the best scorers in the NHL, is going to be with him. And if those two guys don't work out, then he can go with Evgeny Malkin, and then they could make a dynamic duo. So you can't lose with the Penguins and Patrick Kane.
Penguins? He doesn't mean Patrick Kane.
No, he didn't.
What do you say?
Oh, no.
You
Tragic
said
news.
Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane was
My
not an acquisition
hockey.
this year. He was re-signed last year, but I don't think that counts. This year's best offseason acquisition was Dougie Hamilton being sent to the Calgary Flames. Now with him, Chris Russell, and Mark Giordano, the Calgary Flames are very, very good on defense. They also have one of the most important aspects in hockey, which is youth. Dougie Hamilton is one of the best offensive D-men at only 22, and he has a great contract.
Yeah, Calgary does look like a very exciting team, and you remembered who you were talking about, so points go to Blue Steel. But we have one question, and it is the big question. We start with Shepard. Who's going to lift the Lord Stanley's Cup as champions of the National Hockey League?
They were one game away last year. It's going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning. They were 2 wins away, but if they had won that last game, they would be 1 game away. The Lightning have Steven Stamkos, who's one of the best centers in the NHL. They have one of the arguably best lines in the NHL in the triplets. They have a great defense with Hedman and Strawman, and they look dominant. They're in the East, and they're going to dominate the East.
All right, so he likes the guys who made it there representing the East last year. Who do you like, Joe?
Well, the Anaheim Ducks, they've lost 3 straight Game 7s, and they're going to be coming in real hot. They got some great additions, Kevin Bieksa, Sean Horcroft, Carl Hagelin, and Chris Stewart. So they got some great additions, and the core guys are real angry that they haven't been able to make it to the finals, and they're going to go all the way.
All right, so Joe says the Ducks. I like that pick. They didn't really lose anybody. They have that core group of guys, a couple big additions along the way. I think that might get them over the hump. As you said, they've lost a few Game 7s now. So that points go to Joe Jacobs and the Purple Panthers. One more round of action here at the UC. The score is 5-4 in favor of Joe Jacobs' squad. Connor Smith comes back next versus the rookie Tommaso when we come back. All right, welcome back. Last crack at it here. 3 questions left. Purple Panthers are down by 1. Before the break, I said that they were actually up by 1. I can't do math. I go to Emerson. I'm sorry. Anyway, now to some hot stove baseball, and hot it is. The regular season is over, and pitching was the headline in the National League. 7 of the top 10 leaders in ERA were from the NL. We saw an explosion of youth on the bump in New York, Chicago, and the Berg. A lot of ways you can go here. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. We're going to go with the rookie, Tommaso. Who do you think should win the NL Cy Young?
Oh, NL Cy Young, it has to go to Jake Arrieta, okay? He has the most wins, 3 more than Greinke, okay? Who also blew his 45-inning scoreless streak to the New York Mets before they had Cespedes. Okay, Arrieta has 36 more Ks than Greinke, and he's only thrown 6.1 more innings than him. And he's helped lead the Cubs to the playoffs this year. So I really don't see how it can go to anyone that's not Jake Arrieta.
Okay, so he's comparing, basically, he's trying to say it's a 2-horse race. Arrieta versus Greinke. What are your thoughts, Connor?
You know what, Damon? I don't think it is a 2-horse race. I'm going with Clayton Kershaw on this one. First pitcher to 300 strikeouts in the last 13 years. Arrieta may have had a great season, but that doesn't mean wins aren't what we measure pitchers by anymore. Maybe back in the 50s we measured them by wins because that's what it was like. We measure by them by strikeouts, field independent pitching, whip. We go into their stats. Kershaw had a field independent pitching of 1.99. That's fantastic. It's one of his best 3 seasons with field independent pitching in a while. His whip was .881, only second to last season when he won the MVP. Honestly, Kershaw is the best pitcher in baseball. He had terrible run support throughout the season. He had almost as many quality starts as Jake Arrieta. Jake Arrieta really wasn't great until the second half of the season.
So he goes with Greinke's teammate Clayton Kershaw. Your thoughts?
Have you looked at his ERA? You said it yourself. You have to look at ERA.
Yeah.
And I have the numbers right here. His ERA is higher than Jake Arrieta's at 2.13, which is great. However, Jake Arrieta is at 1.77. So I don't know what you want to tell me about that.
What do you want to tell him about that, Connor?
Well, you see, when it comes to the ERA, let's look at their seasons overall. Kershaw may have a higher ERA. He did have a bad start to the season. He came in a little unconfident. After about 5 games, he came in and really stepped it up. He's been winning ever since. Jake Arrieta, he may have had a great point. He had a .4 ERA for the last 2 months of the season, which really dropped it a lot. He has been one of the better pitchers in the league, but I think despite ERA and wins, Clayton Kershaw, with those 301 strikeouts, plus his dominance just against batters in general, makes him the best pitcher in baseball this season.
We'll see what happens in the postseason.
All right,
That is
we'll
true.
see what happens in the postseason, but that doesn't matter. We're wiping all that because it's about regular season. It's a regular season award. As Tommaso said, 1.77 ERA, and as you even touched upon, he had one of the best 2-month stretches to end the season that we've ever seen in baseball. So the points are going to go to Tommaso. He gets his first pair of points there, and now Purple Panthers are in the lead 6-5. Moving on. The year is 2014. The Washington Nationals had lost in the divisional series, but had broken out as a team that was considered a contender. Matt Williams, he's the man. He takes home the hardware for NL Coach of the Year. The year is now 2015. The Nationals failed to live up to the hype as favorites to win it all, and less than a year after winning the award for being the top coach in his league, Matt Williams got the axe, the latest victim of the revolving door that is professional sports coaching. Now, everyone knows it's a tough business, but Connor, was firing Williams the right move for the Nationals?
I'm going to have to say yes, Damon. The fact that he went from winning Coach of the Year to a lesser season, they won 13 less games than they did last season, only second to the Brewers out of all teams in the MLB. That's a huge drop compared to a lot of teams. He has terrible choices, especially when it comes to bullpen selection, especially last year when they were playing the Giants in the divisional series. He just doesn't understand when to put in pitchers at the right times. He trusts that his starters will continue on through the game as much as possible, lets them go on for too long. He did have a lot of injuries this season, but that doesn't make a difference. Teams are supposed to adjust around their injuries, even when it comes to stars. You make new acquisitions, you make trades. You really just got to buckle down and fight whatever you got going. Even though he did have a good season with 86 wins, that's not enough to keep him on this as the coach when the team should have been much, much better.
All right, tough love. He loves it. What do you think?
Okay, I think you're a fool if you're going to judge this man off of 2 seasons, okay? Last year, he won NL Manager of the Year, as you said, with 96 wins. Okay, he was competing with the New York Mets, who are up and coming. Okay, and he has a winning percentage of .552. Okay, Terry Collins has been the manager of the Mets for 5 years and has a winning percentage of under .500. Yet his team has 90 wins and is in the postseason. I think you have to give this man patience and you have to wait, and you'll see results. Okay. Also, Bryce Harper, MVP caliber year. Okay. MVP caliber year, and he's still young, and it was because of Matt Williams, okay, and his guidance. So I want you to explain that to me.
I'm going to have to say I don't think it's Matt Williams' guidance that really pushed Bryce Harper. I think it's Bryce Harper pushing himself to be that MVP caliber player. When a player like that has been touted as such a great prospect for so long and he hasn't showed up until this season really. Last season he had a good one, but really now showing up himself, that's on him. That's not on the coaching. If it was about the coaching, he would have had this season last year.
All right, and I'm going to have to end the conversation right there. This one's really tough with me because I do understand the business aspect, and I'm going to have to give the points to Connor on this one. I got to say, he didn't live up to the hype. This team was supposed to win the World Series. If he was that good of a manager, he should have been able to do something with the pieces he had. He didn't. Points go to the Blue Steel. 7-6, some interesting stuff for the last question. And finally, the Fall Classic. Ah, yes, leaves falling. That crisp, chilly evening air. A nice treat accompanied by Halloween sandwiched right in the middle. Every sport is in action in life. It's beautiful, but we still have a while to go. A few weeks. 8 teams remain in the playoff picture. 2 have been bounced so far. Who has the best chance to take the title, Tommaso?
Well, I have to say I'm 100% ready to fight this battle. In the words of Kiaunis Cespedes, the New York Mets. The New York Mets are taking it this year, okay? And I'll tell you why. The Mets are the first team ever to have 4 starting pitchers to pitch over 150 innings with 5 strikeouts per walk, okay? And if you're a fool if you don't know that pitching wins games, okay? All right? And also they have to play the Dodgers, and you're Clayton Kershaw, who has a ERA over 7 in the playoffs, okay? And we beat the Dodgers this year before we had our second half lineup. So that's no problem. Then we probably will play the Cardinals, okay, who are definitely the better team than the Cubs, okay? And the Cardinals have injuries with Martinez, who has been leading their team and taking the place of Adam Wainwright, okay? And now they don't have him. And Yadier Molina, he's injured. Okay, so I want you to explain to me how the Mets can't beat those teams with their pitching, because they have the best pitching in the major leagues right now.
Everybody here is a fool, and you need to know it. Connor, what do you think?
Wow. All right. Well, I can tell you're a Mets fan because you keep saying we. I'm going to have to go with my fandom, and I'm going to have to say the Dodgers. We're playing you right now. I'm excited about it. Okay, you have the best 1-2 pitching punch in baseball in Kershaw and Greinke. That's not that. Okay. The best 2 pitchers, 2 of the best pitchers in baseball are on the Dodgers. They're the 1-2 punch at the beginning. Yeah, Kershaw has a 7 ERA in the playoffs. And, you know, it takes time to get into it. I'm sorry that he's had a tough time. He'll get over it eventually. He's a grown man. He can figure it out. Greinke had one of the most dominant seasons we've seen in baseball. Earlier, we were talking about Jake Arrieta and his dominant second half of the season. Greinke was dominant all season. His strikeout numbers might not be the same, but he did have the lower ERA and everything like that. Brett Anderson has come into his own at the end of the season after a little bit of time off from the team. Alex Wood in his last couple of starts looked great. He had an 8-inning, 1-hit game to end out the season, which is phenomenal by a pitcher of his caliber, because he has been touted as a great pitcher but hasn't really showed it yet. Again, pitching is going to be the big decisive thing, and I think that the Dodgers have the better pitcher rotation.
Let me put it this way. Now, you guys both say that pitching is the most important thing in this series, but at the same time, maybe because both of these staffs are so strong, maybe it's not necessarily all about the pitching.
Yeah,
so, Tommaso, what do the bats have?
All right, I'm going to throw something at your man Clayton Kershaw, okay? So our man Ruben Tejada has great stats against Clayton Kershaw, okay? Look them up. They're great. Okay. And Ruben Tejada has struggled as a Met, and I think that says it all. However, we have 4 people on our team who kill left-handed pitching. Kill. Darno, Wright, Cespedes, I forgot the 4th one, but still 3 is more than enough. Okay, so I want to see what the Dodgers are going to do.
Is 3 enough? What do the Dodgers have?
I don't think 3 is enough. You know what? I would usually say that the Dodgers are, like, in the last couple of seasons, they've been one of the better offensive teams. While it hasn't been them this season, I do believe that they have the talent right now to do it. Okay, you want me to explain it?
All right, well, I actually don't have the time to explain it. I'm going to have to cut you short there. Oh, man, this one's real close. I'm going to have to think about this one for a second. Do I want to go the Mets? I'm going to go Connor and the Dodgers on this one. And I'm going to say Clayton Kershaw has struggled much more than he probably should in his time in the playoffs, but Zach Greinke has been absolutely phenomenal this entire season. And Kershaw, he's really kind of come into his own as the season has progressed. He's kind of become the best version of himself at the right time. So the Blue Steel, not the Blue Steel, yes. Look, I'm all over the place with these scores today. The Blue Steels actually are your winners, winning by a score of 9-6. Winners stay and losers walks. We got our yellow cards coming up. Don't go anywhere. One last welcome here to the dojo. The Blue Steel emerged victorious, and now you guys can sound off on whatever you'd like. Sarah, you first.
My heart goes out to the San Francisco Giants, who are not in the playoffs postseason. This is not an orange October for the San Francisco Giants. I just want to send my appreciation to Bruce Bochy, who did an amazing job with the team, despite the fact that we had 13 players on and off the DL this season. And quite possibly this could be Tim Lincecum's last season as a San Francisco Giant. He is now a free agent, which makes my heart pretty sad.
All right, an ode to the freak there, Sarah. Very eloquent. Now, Connor?
I'm going to have to talk about my Los Angeles Clippers and their new uniforms. Those things are the god ugliest things I have seen in my life. I understand trying to get rid of the Donald Sterling era and everything, but with those, are you serious? I'm not going to buy one of those jerseys as a fan. Those things are hideous. Why would, and they changed the court. The new logo, it's just a weird representation of the Cubs logo. They weren't even creative. Their marketing team must suck. They should really hire me. Hey, Clippers, hire me.
Yeah, Connor, I got to agree with you. Cool jerseys? What are those? All right, that's it, folks. 2 weeks down at the UC, but it only gets better from here. We return next Friday with a very pleasant surprise. I'm not telling you what it is, so make sure you tune in next week. I'm Damon Turbot. So long.